This will be the video description of the job we called Wilson S. LA Turf Club, which was another case we did for Luis Lee after he moved from Munger Tolls over to Wilson Sonsini. This case involved a racehorse trainer named Jerry Hollendorfer and the decision by the LA Turf Club to ban him from racing on their facilities. Hollendorfer had a record of abusing his horses, running them hard and doping them in order to try to win races. And he was one of the leaders in racehorse deaths among all of the trainers that were racing in California. And this was a suit brought by Hollendorfer to oppose that ban. He wanted to keep racing, and the LA Turf Club said no. So the story, we did a number of graphics based on Hollendorfer's business, and most of it was pointed at showing how bad his record was in treating his horses, and a little bit of one graphic on support of LA Turf Club showing that they were very diligent about maintaining their track, and that the plaintiff's allegations that horse injuries were Turf Club's fault for poor track maintenance. So we'll start out with the background here on Hollendorfer's business. The point was that over these 4 years, Hollendorfer's revenues had declined, and his expenses had increased, putting him in the red toward the end of that period. This was brought up as a motivation for him trying to increase his winnings by pushing his horses harder. He had a business motivation because he was losing money. So interesting background graphic. The next one we did was a little tutorial on the effect of painkillers on the racehorses. So it's common for horses to get injuries on the legs, and a careful trainer would treat the injury and not run the horses till they were healthy. But the allegation was that Hollendorfer was using painkillers to mask that pain so he could run his horses harder, so they wouldn't feel the pain, they'd keep running. So, if the pain due to an injury was down on the leg, there's brain nerve signals that send messages to the brain indicating pain, which would keep the horse from, walking on that or running on that leg. So he would feel that pain and either not run or run slower. So they were administering an oral medication called Bute or Better-Bute to the horses that would mask that pain, so that the injury was still there, the pain was still being generated, but it was masked from reaching the pain, and the horse would not know that and run faster, and this would often result in catastrophic injuries that would end up in the horse's death. So there were lots of records of the purchase of this medication and distribution to his horses. We put a couple of graphics illustrating the percentage of deaths that Hollendorfer's horses had. Here was a comparison I think Al came up with. Was Hollendorfer had, out of a count of 442 starts, that means race starts, he had 6 fatalities, which was fatalities per 100 starts is 1.36, and all the other trainers had, with all of their horses, had 12,500 starts and 38 fatalities for a rate of 0.3 fatalities per 100. So Hollendorfer's record was 4.5 times higher than all of the other trainers combined. He was, really far ahead of any of the others in abusing the horses in this way. One last thing, let's do this last one is also a a bit of a way to address those percentages of horse deaths. This is the plaintiff's expert's declaration, and he shows numbers of fatalities incurred by a bunch of trainers. So we plotted this by plotting the trainers along the bottom and plotting the fatalities by percentage of starts. And there's some people here that look way worse. There's this Barbara, and we go down the list, and Jerry Hollendorfer's down here in the low end. He's just got a few, if you count it by fatalities by percentage of starts. But this is a way that kind of masks his liability here. We took this and plotted it the other way using the same set of data, but if you plot it by fatalities, you see that Hollendorfer is far ahead of any of the other trainers. He had 6 fatalities out of this group, and the others had 2, and a handful had 1. So for this comparison, even using the plaintiff's data, Hollendorfer stands way out without having to do anything other than plot this column in the data. So I think it was well established that Hollendorfer had a very poor record. The other criticism of the plaintiff's data was that he included only 37 trainers, and these were guys that had a fatality, 1 or 2 fatalities, and then we revealed that Hollendorfer had 6. But the truth of the matter was there were data for 200 and what was the number? 285 more trainers were available. Data for those trainers was available, and the vast majority had 0 fatalities. So Hollendorfer is the leader of the bad guys here. Just one of those other ways to demonstrate that he is far above the crowd in horse fatalities. The final bit that's a little more visually interesting was the track tutorial we put together to support LA Turf Club's contention that they were very careful about maintaining their track, using the latest technologies of measuring it, make sure it's safe for the horses to run on. We had plotted some depth data of the various layers of the track as it was measured by, or as it was groomed by, tractors pulling harrows along here where they'd drag it along and turn up the dirt, make sure it's all soft, and uncompact that compacted surface. Pretty nice. They had captured some very nice drone video showing the tractors follow this path around the track and groom the racing area. They do this. It seemed like the record show multiple times, a day, so that there was nothing, hiding in the dirt that would trip up the horses, or a hard surface that would cause injuries to them. So it was a very precisely maintained track. We had, these close-ups of coming along and rototilling that surface again, and it was done quite significantly. They also used the ground-penetrating radar as a little device towed behind a truck where they'd drive around the track, and it would send signals into the track surface, and the bounce back of those signals would give them a sense of how deep the layers were, what the content of those layers was, and where there were thick and thin spots and soft and hard spots around the track. So they drove around this path of the track with the truck, and then got a color plot showing the average depth of that surface around the track. So the point being that they were very diligent about maintaining a track, very diligent about measuring it with the latest equipment. This was all to challenge the allegation that they had poorly maintained tracks that were causing horse injuries. That was just baloney. Didn't happen. They also had, back in the old traditional manual track measurements, you stick a ruler in it. They use the old methods as well as the modern ones. And then had another measure was actually a drop tester where they dropped a hoof-sized weight onto the track and measured the depth penetration. It was kind of an interesting thing. I guess there's specifications about how deep that should go and the best depths that protect the horses so they don't get injured when they're running on that track. Kind of an interesting thing. So another plot of wind and temperature measurements and making sure they knew total moisture content of the tracks and schedules of maintenance. So good data to back up their claim that they did everything possible to maintain a safe track for those horses. And I think that is the end of this video. This case settled. Don't know the outcome. And we'll find, I think Stephanie Jones is checking on whether we can show any of this stuff or not. But right now it's a no-show.